Hey everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so grateful and excited to be here today with you all. Hey, you may notice if you've seen any of my other shows, you may notice that I've got live with StreamYard and live with StreamYard. Oh, wait, the other side, live with StreamYard down in that corner. And I don't have the Social Your Sales branding, and that is because I'm changing the name of the podcast. And so soon you'll see the formal podcast, the YouTube channel, and my lives will all have a new name because I had to get away from social selling and get into what we really do with using social as a communication platform. And I couldn't think of anyone better than to bring John Henderson from Active Ops to come and share his personal experiences with just completely changing the way he looked at social, uses social, and is succeeding with social as a communication platform, not social selling, in order to do his job better. So, John, welcome to the Digital Enablement Podcast. You're the first person I said that to.
Wow. Well, I feel extremely honored. Thank you, Brandon, for inviting me along this afternoon. It feels great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And John, we were just chit-chatting a little bit before we jumped on. Why don't you I'm going to just let you share your story and the process of that story that you have and this new relationship you have with social media in your role.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. It's great to have the chance maybe to talk about my, albeit short journey. Short but impactful is probably the way I would put it. My interactions with, well, predominantly through LinkedIn and as the social platform of choice. I've always thought I was really good on LinkedIn. I thought I had a really good profile. I thought I was had a really good corporate image, but I was only maybe getting 100 likes for anything I ever posted,
Mm.
and that a lot of that was maybe some of the corporate images and activities that we were doing as a company, which was fine. But I had no idea if I could change my profile and be a little bit more human, so people could see a little bit more of who I am rather than who the company necessarily are. To be able to do that actually has been quite spellbinding to me to see what has actually happened. So by all means, people, help yourself to my LinkedIn profile and have a look, and I'll be delighted to engage with you.
But John, would you have said that a month ago?
I doubt it. I doubt it. Probably not, which is interesting, isn't it? It's a very good point. I probably changed my whole approach to even engaging with other posts that I read from other people, commenting a little bit more and engaging with people. But what I've found is, I'm very proud of one of my first posts, and I could not believe 2 weeks ago when I made my first sort of inroads into giving a little bit about John, a little bit about what I do, still linking it with a business orientated message. There's always a subliminal business orientated message in what I write. It's not just a picture of what I ate for my dinner. There is something there which will be connected to what I believe in or what my company believes in. And to see that race through 5,000 views was startling. And then to back it up a few days later with another one at 4,000 views and then 3,000 views. It's not because the posts are getting boring, it's just the timeline's just a little bit longer for the earlier ones. And now I'm looking to try and learn already. If I've had one which I issued on Sunday, okay, did I get my messaging right? I'm already almost critiquing myself to understand, could I have asked it differently? Could I have positioned it differently? But I'm reaching people now that I would have never reached before. And I'm re-engaging with them. And I can maybe come to that in a little bit of time, just to what kind of activity and who are the people that have been engaging with my profile and my stories. But yeah, it's stratospheric and by comparison.
So, John, how would you answer? It's really awesome, I think, that you went from getting like 100 views to now 5,000, 4,000. But how would you answer the question, so what? Like, you know what I mean? Tell us a little bit about what your role is, and you can, share with us about Active Ops. But then if I was your sales leader or I was some sales leader and I go, yeah, John, that's cute. You got 5,000 views. So what?
Yeah. Well, so what? You can do nothing with that. You can do nothing with it. So what?
Except feel good about I got 5,000
Yeah,
views.
got 5,000. So do something with it.
Yeah, what
So
do you do?
Correct. That's exactly what you're going to do. So if I look at my likes, and I can see a lot of them are first degree likes, and I could choose to go, do you know what? First degree likes, meh. I'm really looking for the new opportunities, the seconds, the thirds. But you know what? In the first degree likes, there's a lot of people in there who are current clients in the process of maybe going through discussions with me at the moment. So I was able to reaffirm, they were able to get a better feel of who I am, what do I believe in, what's the personal angle with John, get a little bit more insight about me. So I've used the existing first degree likes of in-flight conversations with clients I've got and built on that, thanking them for liking my post, thanking for taking the time. I really appreciated that. And then they've come back to me, didn't know you were interested in this, John, lovely pictures, whatever it might be, to engage with me, to have conversations with me. Sure, there are the other opportunities, people who I've maybe worked with in the past in other financial institutions where I've worked over many years, as you can tell by the hair, and to then go back to them because they've actually moved into different organizations. So I had a coffee this morning with a gentleman who's moved into a big US multinational bank based in India, and that's where I actually knew him from originally in one of my previous companies. And we had a coffee, we're talking about different opportunities he's got. And that fits in perfectly with what my company gets involved in from an operational background when we're looking at capacity management, tooling, and so on, and how we can drive productivity within their different organizations. So it started from a social post. It then is, what do you want to do with what comes back? And if you act on that and you are driven to do something with it, use the opportunity, don't lose it. You can lose it by all means if you don't want to pick up on all the good that you've done. But that's your choice. Follow up on the leads, follow up on the likes, recognize the comments, stimulate the conversations, and then great things can happen. And I think that's what I'm beginning to see is that great things can happen at a real speed. Real speed. It's not waiting on a marketing campaign. It's not waiting for brochureware to be produced. You can go and have these conversations today. Things could be happening by the end of the week.
Right. That's amazing. So, John, as you're saying that, I realized, because I know what you've done differently, but people listening may not know what you started by saying you did posts that were getting like 100 views and a couple of likes, and now you're getting 4 or 5,000 views and a lot more likes and comments and engagement. What's a difference of what you're doing now?
Yeah. Look, a lot of what we're doing previously would have been more what I would call corporate brochureware. There's nothing wrong with it. It's beautifully presented. It is insightful. But I think it kind of maybe gets lost in isolation. If that's all you produce and that's
Mhm.
all you maybe turn around, people can click through that really quickly. As in compare maybe a different picture with my dog looking at me in a quizzical manner as we were on a family walk one day. And I think that when I saw the image, I'm thinking all that my dog really needed was the reassurance it was on the right path. Turn to the alpha male, which I'll say is
Mhm.
me rather than my wife. That's the alpha male and say, am I on the right path, Dad? Yep.
Yeah.
Just keep going. And I put some comment about sometimes all we really need is the reassurance that we're on the right path. But it was a lovely picture with a simple narrative, which has got a business connotation to it. It looks more human. It was a lovely image, I have to say, even though I took the photograph myself. I'm not
It
really,
was it was a great image.
but
It
I
was a
think
beautiful image.
a good image with a
Mhm.
short enough narrative that carries a story or a meaning to it has more resonance with the audience rather
Yeah.
than compare and contrast maybe brochureware. But I do think there's a place about how do you then feed that into your feed so that still the corporate side can come through in a natural kind of way that it fits in amongst. It can't just be all social or all about John and his family out for a walk, or here's my dog, or it can't just be that. But I think there needs to be the blend of the two. And that's the next bit for me. So how do I blend the two of these together?
Yeah, so share with everybody a little bit, because I know a lot of times I will hear, we don't have time for social media. How would you answer that now? And tell everybody a little bit like your role with Active Ops, because you and I are both the same. We're very careful because I've never been one to be a salesperson, but I've always sold. But I've done it by creating conversations and getting to know people and sharing information, and then naturally moving into more sales conversations than being a salesperson. And I know you're that way as well. And you're very sensitive to make sure you want, people, hey, I'm using social as a way to build my personal brand and share with people who I am and what I think personally and professionally. So tell me a little bit about what you do for work, and then what this process has been for you.
Okay, so my job is as an enterprise sales account director, which doesn't really slide off the tongue too easily, right? I'm in a SaaS orientated business. We provide software to multinational banks, insurance companies. We're in healthcare in the US, majorly work in different government organizations as well. So we're enterprise-wide solutions. So it's a SaaS, it's software, and also a human element to that, which is what we would call the Active Ops methodology that wraps around it. So it's not just a software sale. The whole human piece, the whole method is really important to me. And it's what I, as a client previous to joining Active Ops, really believed in and found resonance with. It was a journey, a people journey, and I'm very much that people-orientated type person.
Mhm.
And for me, there's an ethical stance on this. Sure, there's sales, there's numbers, there's objectives, but I believe in doing it the right way. And for me, this is an extension of the right way. I just didn't know this way. It wasn't a
Mhm.
way I was familiar with before. Um, I go into these things with an open mind. I think I said that to you right at the beginning, Brandon. There were certain things that were perhaps, that might be taboo. It could be too sensitive from a family perspective about, let's not brag about what we have or where we go on holidays or any of that. So it's always been a little bit more subdued, my activity on LinkedIn. So I'm not or indeed Facebook or Instagram or any of the other media channels. So I had that not anxiousness, but I was playing within that sort of framework. So what I really started doing was thinking, what are the images that I think are good images that will capture the imagination, will help stand out? What are the stories that I could then, I guess, draw from my personal life into a business context? I keep a pile of diary cards. In fact, they're all sitting here. Pink ones, yellow ones, green ones, blue ones. So pink ones are my storytelling cards. So if I think I've got a story or I've found an image, they go in here, this little pile here. These are my next set of stories that I'm trying to work up as I go along. So I just jot these things down. So if something's happened or we're talking about, I just jot a few comments down to the side, put them in the pile, and I think I'll spin that up to a story some other time. So
Mhm.
it's not that it necessarily adds more time to my day to do it. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That is not rehearsed, by the way, out there. That is really interesting.
We just haven't got to that part of our conversations yet, so this is good.
But I find that a really useful way of capturing the germ of an idea. Just note it down. I can build on it another time.
Mhm.
Does it take longer? No. Does it? I mean, I like looking through my LinkedIn anyway. What's happened throughout the day? It doesn't take long to write a personal story because it's personal. It's from me. It's not going through marketing for approval. It's come from me, from my approval. It's my story. And I try to keep it as some of them have been a little bit lengthy and I'm learning. Some of those posts might be too lengthy, but it's just try it, see what happens.
Yeah, that's really good. So, John, what would you say for somebody? And you and I have talked about this before, and we both don't like the word social selling, as we said. but what would you say to somebody that's looking at social, either from social selling or relationship building or pipeline creation or anything at all? Um, what would you say about social now that you probably wouldn't have said a month or 6 weeks ago?
Yeah, I probably relied on a corporate persona that I thought would impress people. If they ever stumbled into me on LinkedIn, they'd think, wow, this guy's got 2 MBAs. He's a fellow of the Chartered Banker Institute. He's written a book, all that stuff. It's all in there. But, if they land on it, that's fine. They might be able to read something. I was never pushing any other content about me, not about all the other stuff I've just mentioned, just about me. Simple things about life or activities, what I like doing, the importance of having time out at the weekend. If I hadn't done that, people wouldn't actually be knowing anything else around me. So I think it's important to take that leap of faith and have a go. I think even having a go, write a story or comment on
Mhm.
somebody else's post, just see what happens because it's blowing my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I know obviously you've generated a lot more conversations. Thomas has given you some kudos there. A great way to build up your personal content. That's really smart. I like it. When
Thank
you
you.
say it's really blown your mind again, how what do you tell the people again? I know I just asked this, but those that are skeptical, I mean, maybe what you just said isn't enough to get them to turn a corner. What what else would you say?
Two
I
weeks
know
ago, it
I'm
was the same. Two
what's
weeks
that?
ago, it was the same. 2 weeks ago, I hadn't done any of this. This is brand new to me. And I've not been uh, taught how to do it. Well, other than the coaching course from you, maybe Brandon. Sorry, that's probably wrong to say not taught. But
No,
I've
you're fine.
written the article, kind of written the article myself, accepted the guidance about changing maybe my profile picture a little bit, changing my about section a little bit. These things have all got value. So you're not just a corporate image, you are your own image. And by making yourself a little bit more human, opening yourself up to being a little bit more open to engagement, it's almost like walking a little bit across a bridge of friendship. The others are going to come across the bridge to shake your hand. If you put a
Mm,
little bit out there, they're going to come across, and they're coming across in big numbers, bigger
yeah.
numbers than I thought. And I think that's because if you, by even responding back to people, simple tips like using at John Henderson to do the response and then being able to get into the feed.
Tagging. Yeah.
Tagging, fantastic. Didn't even realize that existed. These are the novice things for a
Mhm.
50 something, right? That I maybe just didn't realize that that's what could happen.
Right.
Just grows the network.
How
And
so?
how
How
so?
does tag yeah, how does tagging somebody, how has that changed your network growth?
Because by tagging, it's enabled my response to go into that person's feed directly, as opposed to me just replying and it was just gone to them, almost in private mode. So by tagging, it also stimulates the whole algorithm of the responses.
Mhm.
So by stimulating that algorithm, it makes my story go further, promoted further. I'm not saying I went viral, but it certainly encourages the propensity of
Yeah,
my message to be seen by other people, which is
yeah.
amazing.
Well, and I would say going from 100 views to 5,000 views is a little bit viral. Yeah,
It felt like that for me.
yeah. So, when you go through, just give us an example when you go through and look at all the likes or all the views that you've generated. What's the process that you do to make that productive or valuable for you? So you go from posting on social media to actually doing your job.
Yeah. So I must admit, I've become a little bit besotted, probably because of the early success. I look at this top and tail of my day, and if anything else comes in between, I can get drawn to that from time to time. So it can be a distraction. What I'm
Yeah.
trying to do is become a bit more disciplined about it. So I do it at the beginning of my day. So when I have my first coffee of the day, that's the first task I do. So I'll go in, have a little look at my respective posts, the most recent one first of all. then I will go through the likes, see who I recognize from the likes, and then be able to respond to the likes that are, I think the first ones for me are the people who I've got in-flight activity with. They're really important to me here and now, really important. I try to respond to them straight away. And they're all important, right? They're all important. But the ones who I've got in-flight arrangements with at the moment, they are the ones who I will definitely want to try and catch up with. People I've not heard with from a long time, great to acknowledge that. Everyone that's liked my post deserves an acknowledgement and a great to hear from you, whatever it might be, and then just try and keep on top of that as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to get into a place where I've got a few shortcuts. So magical shortcuts were very useful for me last time we spoke, Brandon. That's helped me hugely, just to use that to support the input, but to then personalize still over and above that. But it's become a daily routine now for me. Check in the morning, check at the end of the night. I think otherwise it can run away with you. So I've tried to compartmentalize when I do it.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds to me like and don't let me lead you on this, but it sounds to me like you've turned social into a channel for communication that supplements everything else that you've been doing. Is that a fair way to explain it?
Do you know what? There's what I've noticed is there's some people are far more comfortable communicating via social than they are through email. Probably shouldn't go too far with it, but in a particular procurement area, I found that they are far happier talking to me almost offline via LinkedIn. So we reached out, caught up with somebody there, had picked up on one of my posts, and the conversation was kind of almost the off the record conversation. They just wanted to say, like what you're saying, we're keen to talk to you about this. And it opened up a whole new avenue of softer informal, which will become formal in due course. But if I hadn't used that channel, I wouldn't have got that insight, and he wouldn't have felt maybe comfortable talking to me if he hadn't seen some of my social posting that was going on. So it's opened up a new world of opportunity in a different medium that I think complements the core and traditional channels.
Yeah. See, and I mean, I think you're what obviously for what I do for a living, I love hearing what you're saying, obviously. But what I really appreciate about that is that you're experiencing the medium for what it should be. And what I'm hearing, and again, I'm bleeding this a little bit, it's because you changed your behavior. The social media hasn't changed in a month.
No,
You've changed
totally
your behavior.
absolutely right. It's totally me. As I say, it was a corporate persona. It was static. It was populated with some of our very good, professionally produced corporate brochureware and up and coming conferences and hints and tips, all that great stuff. But it was corporate in our colors, and it wasn't different. I didn't stand out from anybody.
Do you still use some of that as supplements to keep the business conversation in the feed, if you will?
No, because I'm enjoying too much of getting 4-digit hits.
Right.
So I guess I wanted to see how far this would go and go on the journey with you and with my wider team. So I've stayed just, if you like, in my social approach just now, just to see how that goes, and then I'll start at the right time feeling like maybe bringing in some of, but I'll probably be a little bit more selective because I'm obviously in the UK or in Scotland, and the market I serve is more into the Europe, Middle East, India, and Asia marketplace. Some of our collaterals typically are more US dominated, so it's just getting the right balance for my audience going forward. I'll probably try and blend it a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, very good. So any turning back for you? Any are you walking away from social anytime soon?
Why would I do that?
I don't know. Why would you?
No, I mean, there's plenty of stories to tell, and as I said, I've been fascinated, and I was intrigued initially, fascinated now, and I'm really enjoying the journey, and long may it continue.
John, to bring us into a close here.
Sure.
Are there any more, tangible successes that you're willing to share about, or at least without detail, at least share about? Because I know a lot of times we'll hear, oh, yeah, social's neat, but it doesn't produce sales. And I know you've recently had some good sales successes that either restarted conversations or moved conversations quicker because of your new social presence. Can you speak to any of that comfortably?
Um, it's a wonderful byproduct of just being who you are and putting yourself out there. There is no doubt, there is absolutely no doubt this is helping accelerate conversations that I would not have had without social presence. In terms of quantification, in terms of new business, probably too early to say. What I can say for sure is there are people who are wanting to talk to me that were not wanting to talk to me 2 weeks ago. The virtual coffees are increasing day by day of people who are wanting to talk to me. Now that's different. That is completely different to where I was. And these are new opportunities, new business areas. So that to me is fascinating. I've got no doubt that people have seen me in a different light in terms of customers who already know me just from maybe hooking up on LinkedIn in the past, bumping into them, have seen me in a different light. People who have messaged me privately saying, really enjoying your post, John. I wouldn't have expected that before. That was not something I would have. So a human level.
You mean nobody ever sent you a message that said, I really appreciated your brochure today?
No, strange that.
Strange that.
But so I don't really want to go into that too much in terms of quantifying those benefits, Brandon.
Yep.
I can say existing customers, far better presence and relationship now than I probably ever had. I thought I was quite good at that, just on face-to-face or doing it through Zoom or whatever the channel of choice for conferencing. But that's just given a different dimension to who I am.
Yeah. And as Thomas says, conversation happens more often on social, and I think you're demonstrating that.
Very true.
Yeah. So I appreciate that you don't want to quantify it, and that's why I'm saying, what are you comfortable with? But are you comfortable saying you've tangibly, and I think you've said it, you've tangibly seen conversations either start quicker or escalate faster?
No doubt.
Because your social presence is more of who you are than just what you do for a living.
Absolutely. And it's the old adage of people buy people, right? And people trust people. And if you can give a bit and people can see who you are, not just who they perceive you to be through a half-hour Microsoft Teams call or whatever it might be, if they can actually see more into you, who you are, and you give them a little bit of enlightenment to what you believe in and what you stand for.
Yeah.
I think it brings a very powerful dimension on an emotional and human scale that's different to just, here's my product and this is what I talk about.
Absolutely. Well, John, tell us a little bit about Active Ops, and where could people find you if they wanted to either learn more about your journey with social media or to learn more about Active Ops?
Very kind. So you can find us at activeops.com. So there's a full website, different products, and all our brochure wares available there if you choose to have that. If you'd like to find out more about me, by all means, it's almost as it says on the screen there, but it's john.henderson@activeops.com. If you wanted to email me, and of course you could see my profile on LinkedIn, and I would be delighted to connect with you. All connections most welcome, and you can learn a lot about me.
John, you've done a great job in embracing this new medium for communication. I really appreciate how much you've embraced it, because, just sharing with everybody, John is part of a team of people that are coming through one of my programs around social influence and our personal brands on social media. John, with a group of other people from Active Ops, are going through it, and You know, John, and you and I have talked about this, is guys like us with a bit of gray, we're not initially seen as being social media people. But I think that what I would share with everybody is this isn't about social media. This is about using a medium that's very rich and very dynamic, when used properly, creates a whole lot of conversations. And those are conversations that lead to business opportunities.
Absolutely. Thanks
Yeah.
to you,
And
Brandon, and Funnel Amplified for all your support thus far.
I appreciate that, John. Well, hey, everybody, if you, reach out to John, give him a big kudos for moving his personal brand into social and using that to help grow, his business as well as Active Ops, and serving more people and doing it in a great way. And if you want to learn more about the journey that John's been on, and granted, he's only about 4 weeks into a journey and having great success, then I'd be glad to share with you about his journey, and what he's using as far as the platform of Funnel Amplified, and through our Funnel Amplified Social Training Academy. So, everybody, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us on the Digital Enablement Podcast. New name. That's why there's no graphics. All coming soon. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. Stick around, John.
Cheers. Thanks.